In the past 4 months, I've gained over 15,000 new followers on LinkedIn, grown my email list to over 5,000 people, and brought on dozens of new clients to my online business. But for the longest time, I struggled to get my first 1,000 followers. Most of the advice I found online sounded nice, but it just didn't work. So in this video, I put together 25 lessons that have allowed me not only to go viral, but to turn that attention into clients. And I'm going to be sharing everything with you today completely for free. So pay attention. My name is Eric Otten. I make content about online marketing and online business. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I make videos like this all the time. Now, the most common question I get is, how do I grow my following on LinkedIn? Everybody wants to know how you can get your first 2,000, 5,000, or 10,000 followers. But the truth is that you won't be able to grow your following on LinkedIn unless you're driving traffic to your content. See, the content game has changed a lot in the past 3 to 5 years. Before, you could make a post on LinkedIn, you could put up a blog post, you could make a YouTube video, and the algorithm would feed it to people. That's all you had to do. Now, attention is far more scarce, and the competition is only getting tougher. The way you're gonna stand out in 2025 is by distributing your content. Now, what do I mean by this? We all know what short form distribution is. This is when you take a long form video, you cut it up, you put it on TikTok, you put it on Instagram, and you put it on YouTube Shorts. Everyone knows what that is. But the same concept can be applied to your content on LinkedIn. See, what makes short form content special is that every time it's reposted on a new account and on a new platform, there's additional context that is added to it. So underneath each post, there's a comment section. There's people who have unique discussions every single time it's posted. And because of this, each time it's posted, there's now new conversations happening, and the way you interpret the media is different. Now we're gonna do this exact same thing on LinkedIn. The game is a bit different because on LinkedIn, it's connections based. Your posts get seen by new people if there's someone in their network who interacts with it. Now, when you're just starting off on LinkedIn, your posts won't be seen by anybody. So if you keep posting and nobody is seeing your content, you are not going to grow. The fastest and most efficient way to grow on LinkedIn in 2025 is by engaging with other people. This means that you're gonna go onto other people's profiles, you're gonna like their posts, you're gonna like their comments, and what this is gonna do is now these people will receive a notification from you. They're gonna visit your profile, and then now they're gonna interact with your posts. And now, since your content has engagement on it, it is being shown to more people. This is how you grow on the platform. Sure, having good hooks and using good templates can help you grow, but none of that matters if nobody sees your posts. This is why to grow on LinkedIn, you have to focus on engaging with people. That's the key. Now, number 2, there's money in your existing connections. A lot of people, when they do outreach, they believe that they need to only speak to people who are outside of their initial network, people who are brand new faces. But one of the sneaky hacks I use with my clients is messaging their existing contacts. What they often discover is that there are hundreds or even thousands of people in their contacts, in their connections, who they have never even sent a single message to. Imagine this, you watching this right now, you have hundreds of people on your LinkedIn who you are connected with and you can message, and those people could potentially pay you. However, you've never sent them a message, and for that reason, you don't have an open thread with them. Imagine how much further you could get and how much your business could grow if you simply messaged these people, reminded them of your existence, and had an open thread for communication. Who knows, maybe they'll message you back and they'll say they're interested in your services. Now, also from a technical perspective, it is far easier to message people who you are already connected with as opposed to people who are outside of your network. You can do this right now. You can go to LinkedIn, you can type in the asterisk in the search bar to pull up all people, and then filter by people you are already connected with. This is gonna give you a list of people that you can message right now with no limit. You can literally mass message every single one of them. How powerful is that? And you can't do that with cold outreach, even if you're using LinkedIn Premium. But there's no limit if you message people you are already connected with. Point number 3, every outreach message that you send must have a clear message that you wish to elicit from the prospect. If you send a message to a prospect and it requires them to expend calories to think about what to reply to you, they're not gonna reply. That's too much work. They have too much stuff that they're already doing. One of the most effective outreach CTAs in 2025 is this. You'll ask the prospect a simple yes or no question, and then you'll say, a simple yes or no would be great. You are giving them permission to reply to you with a single word to make it as simple as possible to get a response. Because remember, you're not trying to close on the initial message. You're not trying to get married on the first date. Your first message, even with people you are already connected with, is to get a response. That is it. Point number 4, don't take advice from people you don't want to emulate. I see this on LinkedIn all the time. There are people with 200 followers, 500 followers, 1,000 followers even, who are giving advice about how to grow on LinkedIn. Even for myself, I feel a bit of imposter syndrome telling you guys how to grow on LinkedIn because I only have 17,000 followers. Compared to other people who give advice, that's nothing. But as a general rule, don't take advice from people who haven't achieved what you want to achieve, because as much as they want to help you, they can't. If they knew better, they'd do better. So when you see this content on your feed that is giving you advice about something, look at the person's credentials and see if there's someone worth listening to. Tip number 5 for landing clients from LinkedIn: do not spam connection requests. This is a tactic that people will tell you to do on LinkedIn and on TikTok. It doesn't work. Now, it doesn't work for 3 main reasons. The first reason is that it sets the wrong frame. If you're sending connection requests to people, you are pursuing them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they like your content, and it doesn't put you in a position of authority. Secondly, it's more effective to let them come to you. And by doing this, it filters for people who have a higher level of interest in what you're talking about and what you have to offer. And the third reason that it doesn't make sense to spam connection requests in 2025 is that by doing this, you can build up a large following of people, but none of them are going to engage with you because they didn't find you based on the content that you're posting. They found you because you sent them a message and they felt obligated to accept it. So if you're going to send connection requests to people, make sure that it is deliberate and intentional. Here's point number 6. If you're going to make content on social media, understand the Dunning-Krueger Effect. So the Dunning-Krueger Effect is this idea that the less you know, the more confident you are in what you have to say. And if you spent any time on LinkedIn or other social media platforms for that matter, you've seen this. You've seen people who are somehow experts in AI, astrophysics, finance, personal branding. They know everything in the world and they talk about the most basic concepts as if it's groundbreaking ideas. The issue with this is that if you make content on LinkedIn and you know everything under the sun, you're just going to attract other bullshitters. You're not going to attract potential clients who see you as an expert. It is very easy for people, especially established business owners, to tell when somebody is bullshitting. So if you're going to make content, talk about things that you actually have some level of expertise in. And this ties into our next point: show credibility. You can do this in your post by saying, "I've achieved X. Here is what I've learned." You can do this by showing your experience on your profile, and that gives you permission to talk about these topics. Or you can discuss topics that are related to your education, which is shown on your profile. The truth is that on LinkedIn, if you read a post, you are going to look at the person's profile and see what they're about. So you need to think about this from the other side of the field. If someone came to my profile from reading one of my posts, what are they going to think about me? Should they listen to me? Should they follow me? Should they opt into my newsletter? And should they book a call with me? You are able to increase the rate at which people do this by showing more credibility. Point number 8. If you're going to sell on your newsletter. The past few months have been some of the best months for my business, and it just so happens that I've done less selling on social media and more selling on my newsletter. The way I generate and monetize traffic on LinkedIn is pretty simple. I have my profile where I make posts and I use software to engage with people. From there, I funnel people to my newsletter, and then it's on the newsletter that I do most of my selling. The key to converting your LinkedIn audience into a newsletter audience is to develop a high converting landing page that leads to a lead magnet. What I do personally is I built a funnel on ClickFunnels, and then I drive traffic to that from LinkedIn by putting the link in my bio, in my featured section, and then also in the comments of all of my posts. And it's this funnel that has allowed me to build my newsletter to over 5,000 people now. So do not underestimate the power of an email newsletter. It's one of the best ways to own your audience and have a direct channel to communicate with them. Point number 9, this is going to change your beliefs about appointment setting forever. One of the biggest mindset shifts that I've instilled into myself, as well as the appointment setters on my team, is that you do not have to reply to every single question that a prospect asks you. So if a prospect wants to go into the weeds about every single detail about your offer before the call, you are not obligated to answer every single one. In fact, I would recommend against this for 2 main reasons. The first is that it puts them in control of the conversation. And the second reason is that if you make it a habit of replying to every single question that a prospect might have, it makes it very difficult to train an appointment setter on that offer. Because then the appointment setter has to know every single intimate detail about the offer to actually go in the messages and reply. It's not only easier, but it's more effective to just focus on setting appointments in the messages. You're not there to sell in the DMs. You're not there to close the deal in the DMs. The point of the messages is to set a meeting to speak on a Zoom call or on a Google Meet, and it's only there that you close the deal. Point number 10. This might be the most controversial advice for making money on LinkedIn, but it needs to be said. As you're growing your following and you're getting connection requests, filter out third world countries. This has to be said because you'll undoubtedly get followers from these countries, people who opt into your funnels, people who opt into your newsletter. That's just going to happen. But you shouldn't expect that these people will become customers of yours. Because of the earning power in these countries, it just doesn't make sense for most of them to become clients of yours. Now, you can find phenomenal talent from these countries. South Asia, so India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, has some of the best video editors, some of the best thumbnail designers. Nigeria and the rest of West Africa has some of the best devs. And the Philippines has some of the best customer support and live chat people you can find. But this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the best prospects. So unless you are using LinkedIn to find talent from these countries, I wouldn't recommend accepting connection requests. It's just going to make it more difficult for you to manage your inbox. Now, as you guys know, I run a SaaS product called Leads Autopilot, which helps engage with people and bring in new followers. And we're launching a feature soon that will allow you to automatically accept connection requests from specific people based on keywords and based on their location. So if you're looking to grow your LinkedIn following and get meaningful connections that match your ICP, you can check out our service down below. Lesson number 11. Before you get on a sales call with any prospect, you must ask them how much revenue they're doing or how much capital they have to invest if the opportunity is right. It doesn't matter whether you're still taking the calls yourself or if you have a salesperson who takes the calls. You cannot waste time getting on the phone with somebody if they cannot afford your services. Point blank, you need to ask them this question. And if they're going to pussyfoot around the answer, they probably weren't going to buy anyway. If you have no clients right now, it is especially difficult to ask them for their revenue, but you must make sure that you do this. In fact, I would even argue that it's more important at the beginning because those first few clients you sign will determine whether you continue with this offer or not. And if you bring on bad clients who don't run a successful business and you can't get results for, then that's going to discourage you from continuing. Lesson number 12. Target people with influence in their organization. So I had a consultation call with a guy who provided time management training to employees. And we were discussing how he could make more money with his offer. And as we were talking, he mentioned that he was looking to train not necessarily employees directly, but rather the training and development leaders within an organization who are responsible for training 15 to 20 employees underneath them. He didn't have to change a single thing about his offer. The only thing he changed was who he wished to target. Let me give you another example. Inside of Leads Autopilot Pro, our SaaS product, we've noticed a lot of agency owners onboard multiple clients of theirs. This is a high leverage opportunity for us because rather than working with one single client, we can work with an agency who brings on 4, 5, 6 clients underneath them. So what you should do is look at the offer you're running now and think, how can I alter this to target people with more influence and more leverage? It's going to make it far easier for you to hit your revenue goals when you do that. Point number 13. This should be obvious, but it's worth restating. Do not make content for anyone other than your ICP. If you make content and you're trying to appeal to the world, that is who you're going to attract into your funnels, into your newsletter. And unless your offer is designed to sell to literally everybody in the world, you're just going to end up wasting your time with people who are not qualified or not interested in your offer. And I see people make this mistake all the time. Someone will have a recruiting offer where their job is to find staff for a company, but they'll play the other side of the field. They'll make content for job seekers to help them find jobs. But that's not who they sell to. They don't sell resume services. They don't sell packages to help you land your first job. They run a recruiting offer, but they're making content for the totally wrong demographic. And you'll notice this on LinkedIn all the time. Lesson number 14. This ties into making content as well. Batch create your content. One of the lowest IQ and lowest leverage tasks you can do is making content each and every day. And while there is something to be said about capturing the zeitgeist, capturing the current attitude in the world, for most content you make, you will be better off batch creating it. And so right now I'm going to give you my exact content system for LinkedIn that includes a sheet that will let you schedule your posts over the next 30 days. You can go to the first link in the description down below and get access to it completely for free. It's going to look something like this. You'll just need to enter your email address and I'll send it right over to your inbox. Point number 15, repurpose your content on social media. This is a similar concept to finding a winning creative on ads, but if there's a topic, if there's an idea, or if there's a exact specific point that you've made on social media before that people resonate with and people like and people engage with, repurpose it. Just post the same thing again or post something similar. And if you think, oh, well, that's like spamming content, that's like repeating myself. The truth is that you can post the exact same thing 5 times and your entire audience still will not hear it. In the content game, you need to have some humility and realize that not everything you say gets heard the first time. You will have to repeat yourself. That's part of the game. Now, this has the added benefit of making the content that you produce easier to make. because you can look at your top performing posts on LinkedIn or on other social media sites and then use that to make content going forward. Literally right now you can do this. Go to LinkedIn, go to your analytics, and then view your top performing posts. You'll have a list of all the posts that have performed the best on your account. For each one of these, you can repurpose in one of two ways. You can either use the same hook but change the message of the post, or you can keep the exact same message but change the hook. And by doing this, you give all of your ideas a longer shelf life and a greater chance to impact people. Point number 15, if you want to succeed on LinkedIn, make video content as well. It's a fact of marketing that audio-visual content helps convince people far more than just the written word. And so by making video content, you can propagate your ideas and build up trust with your audience in a far more powerful way than you would with just text posts. Now, what I do currently is a lot of the traffic that comes into my marketing ecosystem originates from LinkedIn. So a lot of people who end up as clients of mine first saw me on LinkedIn, whether that was because my posts showed up in their algorithm or I engaged with them directly. They go on to check out my YouTube channel, watch a few of my videos, and then go on to book a call with me. That is the most common path I've noticed for people who become clients of mine. And all of my friends with agencies have something similar. They have traffic they've generated either on YouTube or outside of YouTube, but they use video content to warm up that audience, to build trust, which then leads to far more high quality meetings. Because imagine this, when you're on a sales call, the first 15 to 20 minutes is rapport building. It's getting to know the person, talking with them, building trust. But imagine instead that the person you're on the sales call with has already watched hours and hours of your content, and then you're the one taking that call. By doing this, you've already built up massive trust with them, and you can sort of short circuit part of the sales call. So when you make videos, you can imagine that it's that first 15 to 20 minutes of a sales call, but multiplied by hundreds or thousands of people who watch your video. And once you begin to think about content this way, you'll realize how important and powerful it can be for your business. Point number 17, this has to do with sales calls and the content that you make. Do not underestimate the power of future pacing. Future pacing is the idea that if you talk about the future with somebody, you increase the chances that you have a future with them. So when you're on a sales call, even before the deal is closed, by simply talking about the next steps, what you're going to do with them over the next month and year, and how you're going to help them with their business, this paints an image in your prospect's mind of what it will be like to work with you, even though nothing has happened yet. And this also helps you overcome a subtle, unspoken objection, which is that some prospects are afraid once they pay, you'll just disappear. And so by talking about the future and painting an image of the next steps, you help alleviate this concern and you make it easier for them to take action in the present. So to implement future pacing in your funnel, you're going to do two things. Whenever you are making content, you're going to talk about the next steps and what happens when clients work with you. And then secondly, when you're on sales calls, you're going to talk about the next steps with that prospect. Those are two of the easiest ways that you're going to implement future pacing, but also pay attention and consider other ways that future pacing is used in content because it's everywhere. Point 18, in a similar note, lesson 18 is always plan the next step. So when you are on a sales call with a client, if the deal closes and they pay you and they join your program, at that moment you should plan their onboarding call. If, on the other hand, they don't pay and you're going to schedule a follow-up call, schedule that while they're still on the phone. Never leave a prospect or a client just hanging in midair, wondering what the next step is going to be, because your job is to guide them to where you want to take them, which is helping them achieve their end result and become a client of yours. By doing this, it also subtly implies that you've done this before. If you can confidently say, here's what we're going to do next, then the prospect thinks you've only attained this level of confidence because you've worked with so many clients in the past. So it's actually a subtle way of showing social proof that you've done this before. Now, lesson number 19 that I've learned in the agency space and as I've grown my LinkedIn following is that rich people are just like you. You'll notice many creators do this when they work with low-ticket clients, and they'll write in a tone that is overly formal and overly LinkedIn-y. They'll say, we're going to unlock the possibilities for synergies. They say we're going to unlock endless opportunities to exchange synergies. And they talk all of this nonsense. The truth is that, especially with high-ticket clients, they are turned off by this. They're turned off by people who speak in that tone, and they'll throw open their mouth a little bit. And chances are, if you're watching this, you don't feel natural writing in that tone. You're writing in that tone because you think it's what high-ticket prospects like. But the truth is, they're normal people just like you. And so if you get on a sales call and you start talking like that, they're going to look at you. They might not say anything. They're going to think that this person might be a little bit weird. While I've always tried to avoid this kind of LinkedIn-y language, this was still a lesson that I've had to learn over the past year. And so I can remember a conversation where this really stuck out. I was taking a cab back from a restaurant with a friend of mine. We both stay in the same building, so we were taking the cab back. And he had just landed an 8-figure client. And so I asked him, is there a way that 8-figure entrepreneurs speak that's different from someone who's doing their first 10K, 30K per month? And he said, no, not really. They're basically just normal people like you and me. And they just happen to be making more money than you. And that's it. And so whenever he said that, that really changed my mindset around this is just a normal person. This is not something that you have to put a lot of importance on. And that has helped me massively with sales calls. Now, point number 20. This is something that you can implement in your funnels as well as on the sales calls that you book. One of the sneakiest marketing tactics you can implement is called micro investments. The idea is that by asking for small tasks to be performed by your audience, it makes it easier for you to ask them to purchase from you in the future. And you'll notice all of the big creators on social media use this. Now, one person who's gone massively viral and printed millions of dollars using this is Iman Gadzhi. You've certainly seen him on social media if you've opened your phone at all in the past several years. What you'll notice if you pay attention is that he uses micro investments all of the time. He does these quarterly events where he posts YouTube videos, builds up a lot of hype around an event, and then sells you a course. And so in his most recent event, it's called The One Thing, and it's very subtle how he uses micro investments. First, you enter your email. Second, there's a video that you watch. Then you fill out a survey with like 15 questions on it. And then lastly, there's a WhatsApp group. So there's 4 different steps that you take, 4 different times where you're asked to complete a task. And so not only can his team contact you on email, via text, via WhatsApp, but you've also invested time into this event. So when he comes around to asking you to buy something, you're far more likely to buy it. Now you can implement this exact same tactic on your sales calls by using an initial deposit close. The way this works is simple. Rather than asking for a pay in full, you ask for an initial deposit to get started on the project. And the idea here is that it's a refundable deposit. So if your prospect changes their mind within the next week, they can get a refund before you've completed the package. However, once it's completed, then they pay that final amount and then you can work on an ongoing basis. By doing this, you're asking for a micro investment. Rather than the full amount, you're asking just for a little bit, just to get your foot in the door. And at that point, they've made a commitment. But you're not asking for the entire thing all in one go. Lesson number 21, try out new offers. If you guys are making less than 10K per month, then you need to be trying out different offers to see what sticks. And this doesn't mean switching your entire business model. It just means looking at what services you provide and thinking, how can I arrange these in different ways with different deliverables, different guarantees, different time frames? How can I move things around to create a new offer that is more appealing to the market? Because the thing is, when you run a service-based business, you are essentially doing this anyway. I'm sure you've had a prospect come through who wants this package, but he wants a few things changed. So you've essentially made a new offer anyway. You might as well be the one who's in control, trying out different things, marketing these new offers, and then seeing what the market chooses. Now you, Mr. 5K per month agency owner, you might be thinking, well, if I launch a bunch of different offers, isn't that going to damage my brand? Isn't that going to make me look like I'm not focused on one specific thing? And what I want to bring to your attention is a company that you use every single day, probably multiple times per day. And it's also used by billions of other people. It's called Google. And something interesting about Google is that they launch and stop offers all of the time. There's actually a website you can go to called Google Graveyard. You can look it up. And it shows all of the products that Google has launched and then shut down. You guys remember Google Domains, right? It was a website where you can buy domains, sort of like Namecheap or NameSilo. Yeah, Google did that for a while, but now they've shut it down because it didn't make them enough money. So they've literally just transferred all those domains over to Squarespace. And did it damage their brand? Not really. And so you're watching this, you run a business that makes 5K per month, and you're thinking, if I run a new offer, isn't that going to hurt my brand because it'll look like I'm not focused on one thing? But that's not how it works. New products are created all the time. Products get shut down. That's just how business works. Now you can have the best offer in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you won't make any money. That's why my next point is that traffic is king and the offer is queen. See, if you guys have played chess before, you know this analogy. The aim of chess is that you are trying to checkmate your opponent's king without getting your king checkmated. And so right now, for some of you guys watching this, your king is in check. You are one move away from losing. And rather than moving a piece to protect your king or moving your king out of check, you're focusing on moving your queen. You're focusing on making a new offer, perfecting your offer. And while that's important, it doesn't matter if you can't get traffic to it. Traffic is your king. And so there are only 3 ways to drive traffic to your offer. You have content, you have cold outreach, and you have paid ads. Those are the only 3 mechanisms that you can use to drive traffic to your offer. So what I said about making new offers and trying them out is true, but you need to look at your business and think, is it not working because my offer isn't good and I need to change my offer? Or is it because I have no traffic that's coming to my newsletter? I'm doing no outreach. I'm making no content. I'm not running any ads. You need to figure out which one of those is the reason why you're not making money. Now, driving traffic to your offers is important, but if you're not tracking how that traffic converts, then you're shooting in the dark. You won't be able to make any decisions unless you are recording data to see where your customers come from, which is why it's essential that you use tracking links. Essentially, every platform has tracking links where you'll be able to see where somebody came from when they either book a call with you or when they purchase a product from you. If you're not doing this, you essentially have no way to know what are the biggest levers in your business and what you should be focusing on. Lesson number 24. You don't have a business problem, you have a personal problem, and it manifests itself in your business. See, the different facets of your life are not isolated. When you're stacking improvements in one area of your life, whether that be your fitness, whether that be relationships, it's going to infect everything else. The way you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And so if you're making poor decisions with your diet, this is going to affect your mental clarity. It's going to make it harder to make money. It's going to affect your business. Every one of these things ties together. Entrepreneurs think that there's some secret tactic, some AI tool that they can use to make their work 100 times more efficient. That secret hack is removing brain fog. That's what's going to make your work 10 times more efficient. It's not the newest GPT model that's coming out. It's not going to be your configurations on GitHub Copilot. It's going to be being able to focus. That's your secret hack. And so as entrepreneurs, we often say that we have a business problem, when in reality, the source of that issue is something with ourselves. And once you adopt this frame, it gives you control over everything in your business. If all the problems in your business are the result of a choice that you made, you suddenly have control over it and you have the opportunity to fix it. I also often see people with a scarcity mindset. This is people who are afraid of spending money, afraid of tipping at a restaurant. And the strange thing is that I began to notice this pattern several years ago, and numerous of my friends have noticed this pattern as well, which is, let's say you're going out to a restaurant and you tip well. Suddenly, you check your phone and an affiliate commission has come through or a Stripe payment has come through. It's almost as if the money that you spend comes back to you. And in some situations, it comes back to you immediately just to show you that it's real. It's so strange how that works, but events like that are designed to shape the way that you think about money. If you think about money as something that you take from other people, and as such you are doing them harm, then you won't want to make more money. Because if you're a genuinely good person and you think that taking money from people is doing them harm, you won't want to make any more money. On the other hand, you can see money as a tool for making impact. If you had more money, you'd be able to make a greater impact on the world and do more good with it. And you must also recognize that the money you make is in direct proportion to the number of people you help and the amount that you help them. That's the only reason that somebody gives up their money, is because they think that they're going to get something that helps them even more than the money they spent. So once you realize that this is how money works, you'll notice more opportunities to make it within your business. Now, lesson number 25. This is the final lesson of the video, and I've included this here as the final point for a reason. This is around authenticity. The truth about authenticity is that it only comes from a place of abundance. This is especially apparent on social media. If you have just 10 new followers who come to your profile each and every day, you're going to be a bit afraid of making content and saying things that offend them. Whereas, if you have several hundred people who come to you each and every day on social media, you won't be afraid of saying things that rub them the wrong way, because you know that you have enough abundance coming towards you. And the way in which a lack of abundance or scarcity affects you is very subtle. You probably don't even notice it, because people who live in a state of scarcity, they tend to make decisions and they're not even aware that they're making them. So if you're making content right now and you're afraid of, what is this person going to think? Is this going to rub potential clients the wrong way? Then chances are you're not driving enough traffic to your profile to feel abundant enough to say the things that you want to say. And so if authenticity is the highest emotional state that you can operate at, why would you choose to live at anything less than that? So, ladies and gentlemen, those have been my 25 lessons for landing clients from LinkedIn, as well as other things that are sort of tangentially related to it in business and online business. So, hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new to my channel, if this is the first time you've seen my video, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free. And I'm also giving away my exact content system that has allowed me to gain over 17,000 followers on LinkedIn. It's completely free, and you can click the first link in the description down below to access it. So go ahead and do that. That's the follow-up. That's your prize for watching this video, and I'll see you on the other side.